we're back. All right, so we're going to now introduce the iCUE operating system, which is the Android compute system that's embedded in all of these panels. Okay, so we're going to walk through the interface. We just ran an update to the software. So FYI, as the panels were being installed, you kind of missed a couple updates, over the summer and prior to that. So we did just have an update that was released on August 6th. So we just ran that update, and I'll walk you through what the update looks like. FYI, before I forget, there will be a patch to this update released before the end of August. So I'm guessing before August 31st. I don't know the exact date yet, but again, keeping the panels connected to the internet will be very helpful to receive that patch. There's one little glitchy thing that I'll mention, and they need to fix that. Our product developers need to fix that, and there will be a release before the start of school. Okay, so the first thing I'll walk you through, in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see a little icon that looks like a little kid's face. So what you're going to do here is you're going to click on that icon, and you're going to have the teacher sign in with their Google credentials. So if I go to sign in, I'll kind of walk you through doing it. You get an option to sign in with Google or sign in with Microsoft, depending on whichever ecosystem the district uses. So in this case, I'm going to sign in with my Google credentials. Maybe? Okay. So just give me a second. Your on-screen keyboard should pop up. If for some reason a teacher or somebody in one of the buildings needs a physical keyboard, you could do one of those wireless keyboards or a wireless mouse and plug that dongle into one of the USB ports, and then you will have that. So I'm going to go ahead and just sign into the panel. Bear with me. Okay, now why is that important? Signing into the panel is important for a couple reasons. Essentially, we have a cloud-based system called Smart Learning Suite Online. So by me signing into the panel, all of my cloud lessons, all of my lessons that were saved into my cloud account, follow me from panel to panel to panel. So if I'm a traveling teacher, I know that might not apply here in the elementary schools as much, but if I'm a traveling teacher and I need to go from panel to panel, like these teachers here, if they come over into this class setting and they want to sign into this panel, they can do that because whatever they've done on their panel and there will apply here, if that makes sense. So it's essentially like kind of saving your bookmarks and saving your favorite apps and all that good stuff, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and it says, would you like to sync your files automatically? And I'm going to say yes. If you don't say yes, then none of those current files that you are working on in Smart Learning Suite Online will follow you. So no, I realize not everybody's using that at the moment, but eventually they probably will be, and so you just want to make sure that that's a good thing that it follows you as you're traveling around from classroom to classroom. Okay, so then you can notice that I'm signed in, it has my name there. Okay, so let's then start on the bottom left-hand side of the screen where it says settings. So I'm going to point out a couple key settings that you may want to be aware of. Go ahead and click on that or touch on that. Anyone that has an Android phone or an Android tablet at home, you're going to be real familiar with these settings because they look just about the same with any Android operating system. So first of all, you always want to identify what your board name is. So we've already named your panels. And you will be able to see that it reflects the room number that you're in, okay? Network, you should always be connected to a network. You shouldn't have to worry too much about that, but if you need to check on that, this is the network settings that you can access. But my favorite part of settings is probably the personalization piece. This is where you can personalize the wallpaper of your settings, and you can scroll through. We have a wallpaper library here, and as you make changes to the wallpaper, it changes instantly for you. You can always switch it to something else. You could change it daily if you want to. So maybe we'll just keep one of these fun ones. And more importantly, you can customize your wallpaper. So if you want to create an image file, maybe I've done this in Smart Notebook, I can create like, okay, Mrs. Perillo's classroom, and then I've got maybe the Otis Elementary logo or something like that on that page. I could save it as an image file on a USB drive, stick the USB drive in one of the ports here, and one of your options is you can add pictures from a USB drive. So that's kind of fun. If you want to change up and personalize your wallpaper even more, you can. Let's check a couple things. We'll go to Smart Whiteboard. Turn on, I just want to double check a couple things. Saving, perfect. Everything is on, that's perfect. Screen share, let's go to application settings for screen share. If your students are going to be using this feature with the panel, meaning if you want to use the screen sharing feature from the student devices, you would have to make sure that require permission is turned on. By default, for some reason, it's turned off, which I'm not a big fan of, but I just want to remind everyone to turn that on. And the reason why, when you go to open up the screen share app and you want the students to screen share from their devices, if you don't have require permission turned on, somebody's just going to willy-nilly share their screen, and it may not be what the teacher wants. So you want to make sure if you require permission, you have to actually say, yes, I'm going to allow that device to be shared. You can share up to 4 devices at once, and we'll walk through that here shortly. Unless, of course, it's a Windows 10 device. That Microsoft has limitation with that. It's only 1 device at a time. Okay, so let's take a look at system settings and look at display. So this is where the auto brightness can be turned on or turned off. If you turn it off, you can always manually adjust the brightness. The screens, the IFPs are 4K Ultra HD, so meaning they're pretty crisp and bright. So even with the lights on, you might not need it on full brightness, but just be aware that that is an option you can always adjust. And then here's your sleep timer. So you can, it looks like they upped it. It used to be default by 30 minutes. Now it looks like it's defaulted to 60 minutes of non-use. So the panel will fall asleep after 60 minutes of non-use, unless of course you change this setting, okay? I think 60 minutes is a good amount of time. All right, looks like we're good there. We should be good with audio, date, and time. Software update, this is where, not that a teacher ever really needs to do this, but this is where you can manually check for software updates of the IQ system. So the current IQ system, if you go to the About option, you're going to see that the build number is 3.6.9. There will be a patch, and it will look something like 3.6.9 and then some other numbers there. 3.7 will get released in October. So about once a quarter, we're going to put out a full update, and then that will change the dot number. So we'll go to 3.7, then eventually 3.8, and so forth. Okay. All right, so going back to the home screen, I want to get out of this screen. Remember, you always go to the little home button and you'll take it back to the home screen of the panel. All right, let's go through a couple other features. You have, by default, you'll have 3 favorite apps that will already be there for you. If you want to add additional apps, what you would do is you would go to the apps library, and you'll notice, well, there's not much there, right? So what you'd have to do is customize your own apps library depending on what kind of teacher you are. So elementary teachers are going to have different apps favorited than a secondary teacher, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the little plus symbol, and you're going to now search for the apps that you're interested in. So there are some already here for you. There's some Android, here's some smart support apps, Microsoft, and Google. One of the things I'll mention right away, I would download, you notice a little arrow, these just need to be downloaded. I would download VLC Player and the WPS Office immediately. And the reason why, when you use the panel's Chrome browser to go to different sites that, whatever various sites that the teachers use, you're going to want to make sure that these 2 are downloaded, so then you can be successful and say, like, for example, if I want to go to my curriculum company's website, let's pretend it's Pearson, and there's a worksheet there that I want to open up. say it's in a PDF format. Well, I need a PDF app to open that, right? So you need to have that WPS Office installed so then it can open up that formatted file, okay? Same with VLC. If there's a video that maybe needs some sort of plugin or a VLC player to operate the video, you want to make sure that that's at least there for you, at least as an option, right? So YouTube is fine, you know, they don't need the VLC player because that's all web-based, but there might be some websites that the teachers go to that may need that, okay? The other way to find apps, essentially this is what you're doing, you're bookmarking your favorites, right? You're essentially doing that. So let's say I was a high school teacher, so I'm just thinking of what are some of the things I would have used quite a bit, probably like Khan Academy. So I'll just do a quick search for Khan. And then what I would do is click on this little plus symbol. It gives it a green check mark. And so what that means is when I go to my apps library now, my Khan Academy should be there. Where is it? There it is. All right. Couldn't see it. Okay, so there it is. So it's always going to be in my apps library. But let's say I use that all the time. Like I want an even shorter cut to that. So what I would do is click on the little star. It turns green. And then if I go to my home screen, Khan Academy is shortcut there on my favorites. Okay, so all you have to do is star your favorite ones. You could do that with Google Classroom, maybe Class Dojo, Seesaw, whatever the teachers use, and you could favorite those. Remember, you have to add them first and then favorite them. Okay, and then your favorited apps might get larger and larger and larger. That's okay. You just will scroll through all of your favorite apps on the home screen and it can keep expanding. It's okay that you have a lot of them. All right, so now that we're here, I do want to point out next to the apps, you're going to see input here too. This is the only command that's in two places. You're going to see input here on your physical buttons. Actually, it's three places. You're going to see it on your remote, and then you're also going to see it on the home screen of IQ. Okay, so three places for that command. Let's go to screen share. So if you go to screen share, this is where, and we'll have to identify to make sure all of your network ports are properly open for successful screen sharing. But essentially, you have two options to screen share. You have the native screen sharing. We support all native screen sharing from the students' devices or even the teachers' devices, including Windows 10 Miracast. We also support the screen sharing like Chromecast from Chromebooks, Android, and then of course Apple AirPlay as well. Everything, even though you only see two quadrants, all devices support up to 4 devices except for Miracast, which is Windows 10 screen sharing. There's also another way to connect. You can use the Smart Screen Sharing app. So like if you're on a Chromebook, let's say, and you'd rather use the app instead, you would do a search in the Chrome Web Store for the Smart Screen Share app, and you would just install that or bookmark that on those devices, and you can use the app instead. One of the nice things about using the app, if you're using, I don't know if anybody has Mac devices at all anywhere in the district, but if you're on a Mac device or a Windows 10 device and you use the app, you actually have touchback controls. So what that means is you would be able to touch the screen to control the content, or you can touch the screen on the device to control the content. If you're using anything else, you have to control the content from the device. Okay, so just FYI with that. And then again, this is where I would make sure that the required permissions is turned on, because otherwise if you have the app open and someone's like, oh, I'm gonna go try to screen share, and they're just going to pop up here, okay? You should have, when you screen share, audio should come through. So like for example, if you're screen sharing a video or something like that, you should hear the audio, no problem. If you're having any issues with it, let us know, and we will make sure we'll walk you through it. There's a couple like troubleshooting tips that we've got, starting with network ports, and then also we also have some other advice. Big rule of thumb, make sure that the device that you're screen sharing from is on the same network as the panel, which I know this is hardwired, Those might be on Wi-Fi. So we're gonna need to connect you with how to connect and walk, and maybe you guys already know this, but it's a little above my head, how to connect those two networks together to make that connection. So we'll just, and we can walk you through that with our tech support. Okay, so we'll go back to the home screen. And let's talk about what, I'm gonna leave whiteboarding for last because that's probably the one we'll spend the most amount of time in. So let's go to the Chromium browser. The Chromium browser is just sounds like what it is, it's a Chromium browser. The user does not sign into the Chromium browser because you're signed into the panel, and you bookmark all of your apps and your favorites through the panel, through the other ways that I just showed you. So essentially what you're doing is if you can type in something. I always go to CNN, not to be political, but just because it's a short URL and it's easy to type really quick. So I'm just gonna go there and then just show you a couple features here. You obviously can scroll, you can touch, you can do like what you normally would do on a touch screen device. But I'm gonna pick up a pen and then let's just start, inking. Essentially what it does is it will freeze the screen, essentially. And you can always go over here on the left-hand side of the screen. You can change the thickness of your pens if you want to, okay? You can change the color of your pen. And then I know it's really hard to see, but the bottom right-hand corner has a little a circle with 3 dots in it. If you click on those 3 dots, this is where you can actually change the color even more if you want, okay? And then you can just start inking in that color. To erase, all you have to do is use something bigger than a fingertip. So you can, use your palm. I like to use my fist, okay? So something like that. So a lot of times, I was at a district last week and we were going through a bunch of things and I just started erasing and everyone started laughing. They're like, we couldn't figure out how to erase. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I didn't try that. But anyway, you can do something like that. And when you erase everything, it kind of goes back to like normal screen. But again, if you start to ink again, you're gonna notice kind of like it's frozen and then you'll see a green, white and white X. If you click on that, this is where you get your choices: cancel, discard, or save. If I go to save, it already says it will save back in your files library. Okay, so let's go to the home screen and let's find that. Okay, so it does a couple things. It will always show up in your recent. So any place that you go will show up in your recent section. And if you're like, I'm so sick of seeing my recents, I don't need those anymore, you can just hold and press and it will come up with like a delete option. You have a little X in the corner and you can delete those recents, okay? So if I go to files, let's see if it's sunk. It has to kind of sync with your online cloud, because what's happening, because I'm signed in, anything I save in my files library actually gets saved to my Smart Learning Suite Online account too. So it's a two-way street. So you do have to sometimes wait a little bit and see. I know it can be a little slow here. And I think we're gonna work this out with our patch because I don't wanna wait too long. But essentially you can go back to your recents and pick that again. Anytime it saves like a screenshot like that with your inking, it still is live inking. So you can always, erase that or make changes if you want to. All right, so web browser, again, let me mention, let's get out of that, sorry. Did I erase everything? Oh, because it's a screen. I tricked myself. One thing on my browser here, if I go to new here and new, you can have like, I don't know, if a teacher has several different applications they're going to, maybe they're going to Google Classroom here, maybe they're going to their Google Drive here. Again, it's just like a computer, right? You can go from tab to tab to tab and keep that open. And if you don't close out, when you go to sign into your next panel, all of those tabs should still be open for you. Okay. Let's go back to the home screen.